Sticking together. That's all that matters. Listen, Kale will be joining us very shortly. I think it's just going to be the four of us. But nevertheless, first and foremost, our homie on the left, Tottenham Hotspur's finest, Kish, is in the building. Kish, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm very, very well, thank you. It's been a long, long time coming, and yeah, I'm hoping that there's going to be more shows to come because I think it's an exciting upcoming season ahead, particularly for Spurs fans.
Yeah, I don't know about the last part of it. I was enjoying it apart from the last part. But listen, the man below me needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give him one anyway. Father Kojo is in the building.
Yes.
You love to see it. Congratulations, obviously, as well, first and foremost. But how are you doing? How's the little one, man?
Thank you, bro. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Little one's fantastic. She's doing very well. So shout out to her as well. Yeah, I can't lie. It's been a while since I did a podcast. So coming back and being the first one being Usman, Talks United's channel, being Rail Fans podcast. Where else would I rather be? Let's talk some shit.
Yes, you love to see it. You love to see it. Obviously, we've not been as consistent. That is my fault. As Keisha said, hopefully we can be a bit more consistent in the future. But listen, we've got a lot of good podcasts coming for you, in particular with the Ralph podcast. We will be starting to get some guests on. But listen, tomorrow also got a fantastic show. Got a player profile show for Tyrell Malacia, if that's how you pronounce his name, the lad that we signed from Feyenoord, our Eredivisie experts in the building. So obviously get your questions for that one. And I will mention Martinez on that one as well. So obviously, probably mention them in briefing, but tomorrow's show will go into more detail. But anyways, let's get into it. As always, slap a like, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in. If you're watching this on repeat, we appreciate you people. Keep sharing it on our socials and all that good stuff. But listen, let's get into it. The biggest story of the last couple of days from a Man United perspective is, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. As you can see from the title, Ronaldo is on his way out of Manchester United. We'll get to the other part of the title. But I thought, no, let's just get straight into it. Ronaldo is set to leave Manchester United, apparently. What are you guys' thoughts on this one? Who wants to go first? Who wants to take this one first?
I'll go first. Why not?
Go on. What are your thoughts?
Firstly, I'll excuse me. I'll just the anger from the fans that are suddenly looking at him like he's some sort of, I don't know, villain for essentially wanting better for the club. Because all the statements are coming out from the media guys and everything is that he just isn't convinced that the club is doing enough to challenge again, isn't doing enough to back the new manager, isn't doing enough to support him and get the team into a better position. He likes Ten Hag, apparently, so there's no issue with the management. He just wants to remain ambitious. And somehow he's the villain. So apparently now it's not now. I know some people have been saying it in the past, but it's we shouldn't have signed him anyway. He played United. Apparently, Ollie Holt believes that. He played United and all that rubbish. And it's just like the narrative is, for me, stupid and it's silly. And the reason why I say that is because, firstly, he didn't ruin any plans that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer went into a press conference and said, I want a striker. He got one of the premier goal scorers in football, not just for like any one or two clubs in football. And, then the idea of, but he wants a player that presses and all that. I'm like, well, United haven't really had a front three that pressed anyway. And you wanted the so-called fluidity of the front three. Well, he's a top player that can link up, and more importantly, more than anyone in the team, he's a premier goal scorer. So you've got what you want. You cannot complain at that. And he scored 18 league goals for a team that has performed pathetically. And they're saying stuff like, well, he scored those goals and we finished sixth. So what does that mean? What it means is Man United has needed help since 2014. That's not a Ronaldo issue. He comes into the club, does his job as he's expected to do it. You must build a team around him and other players, that other key men, that is good enough to do something well enough anyway to at least challenge for some level of trophies and maybe challenge for the title if they can. So for him saying that he's considering leaving because the club lacks ambition right now, I mean, is anyone going to say that's a lie? Because Man United have lacked ambition for a long time. That's the truth. They haven't moved that. They have been an ambitious club in the transfer windows over the years. They've bought players without plans. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted a striker, got Ronaldo and didn't know what to do with Ronaldo, that's a Solskjaer problem. That's not a Ronaldo problem. Because really and truly, I don't think there's much to really tell Ronaldo. You just tell him how you want to play, and he'll go on the pitch and do what he has to do. So again, if he does go, he needs to be replaced. I don't know who will sign. I don't know where we go from here.
There's not really many options. Obviously, Akil's kind of put that in the chat as well. He's saying he's not really bothered with Ronaldo leaves, which is completely fine. But we aren't going to replace. I mean, we haven't replaced Michael Carrick, so we're not going to replace Ronaldo. We didn't replace Ronaldo the first time, really. We didn't replace Rooney. We haven't replaced anybody.
There you
we
go.
haven't even replaced Rio. I mean, the list is endless. So, for me personally, there's a few things you touched on. Firstly, the fans, right, and the pundits. Let's just get this on the screen. Just leave it there. Firstly, the fans and the pundits, right? Something Hall, whatever. Is it Oliver Hall? I don't know his name.
Yeah, Oliver Hall, whatever he calls himself. Yeah,
whatever his name is. I don't really know him, so I'm not gonna, go into that. But his comment, alongside a lot of other comments I'm seeing, is basically PR spin. Basically, Ronaldo's called out the Glazers for the lack of ambition, and they're like, well, that makes us look bad. Obviously, Ronaldo's got a high status in the game. Obviously, they're going to have to retaliate in some way, shape, or form. And lo and behold, a day later, all these PR spins are coming out. For me, it's an absolute no-brainer. People are getting blindsided and blind-tracked by this notion that Ronaldo is now the villain. Ronaldo is now the bad guy. You got two sets of fans. You got three sets of fans. One set of fans that don't like Ronaldo in general, for whatever reason. Second set of fans are Martial fanboys, so they don't like Ronaldo because he took their man's spot. And third sets of fans are just deluded. They'll listen to anything that these journalists will print, i.e. Ronaldo is a virus, Ronaldo is the problem in the dressing room, etc., etc., etc. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, Man United finished second and I'll finish sixth. I mean, for me personally, finishing second is not an achievement, firstly. And then coming sixth, okay, granted, some of that may be down to the fact that Ronaldo doesn't suit XYZ system. Ronaldo might upset the dressing room. These things may be true, but guess what? Ronaldo's come in and put pressure on these players to perform at a high standard and compete for trophies. And the fact of the matter is, these players have crumbled. And if for me personally, and I've been very consistent, you can check my tweets, I am happy that shit has hit the fan, because it's just so kind of accelerated the process. This was going to happen inevitably at some point. Someone's going to come in and rock the boat. Someone with a mentality to win trophies was going to come in and rock the boat. But the issue is with people, they see Ronaldo as a negative. In my personal opinion, he's been a blessing in disguise. Okay, granted, in the short term, it may cause issues or whatever it may be. But in the long term, a lot of these players that can't hack it and can't hack this pressure and hack the standards that you need to be out, to play for Manchester United club, they're going to be gone. And that's what we need. For me personally, there's too many weak-minded players. I mean, I don't want to pick on individual players, but the amount of reports that have come out about Maguire and Bruno in particular, and Luke Shaw in particular as well, complaining about Ronaldo, he's too authoritative in the dressing room. Bro, this is Cristiano Ronaldo. You're meant to be in awe of these players. You're meant to be happy that these players are joining, not have the opposite effect, oh, he's too demanding of us. I mean, Luke Shaw so desperate for his fucking custard and cake. This guy got pissed off that Ronaldo coming and arrived. So for me personally, that side, from the player's perspective, is a disgrace. From the board's perspective, what has Ronaldo... I don't understand the fans. What has Ronaldo said that is wrong? He has said, I am going to wait for Manchester United to show ambition. And people are saying, well, why didn't he leave 2 months ago? He gave them 2 months to show ambition, and what have they done? They signed absolutely zero players. So why should he stay? They've shown their hand, which is absolutely nothing. The hand is nothing. They've shown him nothing to suggest that Manchester United want to win trophies. He's in the twilight of his career, i.e. the last year. He shouldn't be playing at this level. The fact that he still is a madness, but he's at the last years of his career. And of course, it's going to be selfish. He wants to win trophies. The guy is a born winner, and there's nothing wrong with that. We should be aspiring to have players with that mentality at the club. But for some reason, our fans are having it as a negative. Ronaldo's too demanding. Ronaldo wants XYZ from the club. What the... Are we Man United? Like, what is going on? Are we Crystal Palace? I'm so confused. I don't understand it from the fans' perspective. The ones that are turning on Ronaldo, you're basically lapping up the PR from the Glazers, so well done. The fans that have an agenda against Ronaldo, i.e. the Martial fanboys in general, they just got an agenda because they don't like him. You're pathetic as well. And then in general, just the players as well, they just can't hack the pressure. So for me, good riddance to a lot of the players. Hopefully get rid of another 15 players. But listen, Kish, what are your thoughts on the Ronaldo situation? Is he to blame, Or
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I've listened to both your opinions, and I agree with the majority of it. I think from an outsider's point of view, I had a conversation in a Spurs chat group today, just to put it out there, what their thoughts were. And they were all, outraged by it, etc. But on the different scale of things, last season when Harry Kane was basically begging to go to Man City, I wouldn't have blamed him at all, because he gave the club, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it is of his life. And unfortunately, we've not won a trophy. And a player of his stature at the end of his career, if he doesn't win trophies or major honours, then I feel that, for his own responsibility, it would be a waste. And Ronaldo's on the other side of that, where throughout his career, he's won the major honours, whether it be the Champions League, the Premier League. He's not come to Man United to get top 4 and win a League Cup. That's not Ronaldo's DNA, and it never will be. And if anything, you should credit him the fact that he came to United at 37, thinking that this is a team that came second in the league. No matter what you say about it, pandemic, Liverpool had a poor season, etc. The bottom part of it is United came second. They were in a Europa League final, which they could have won, they should have won, whatever you call it. But they were building. There was hope that they'd be building. Similar to, and I know this isn't about him, but similar to Pogba. I think one of the reasons why Pogba joined United from Juventus was at the time you just hired Jose Mourinho, who just before the year before won the Premier League with Chelsea. So these are all similar factors to the reason why I think Ronaldo went there, because he thought he'd be the benefiting factor towards getting him to the upper echelons. But what he didn't realise, and unfortunately this happens to a lot of clubs that Ronaldo has gone to recently, i.e. Juventus and United, is he will always do his part. He will always score the 18, 20 plus goals a season. It will always happen, because he'll never lose the knack of scoring goals. He'll do his job. But what the players around him do is they forget to play. They forget to realise what their strengths are, and they just rely on Ronaldo's goals. Because if you look at that team from 2 seasons ago, where the person I'm not going to name got double figures in goals, Martial got double figures in goals, Rashford had back-to-back 20 goals a season. This last season, bar Ronaldo, no one's got past double figures, not even close. Well, I think maybe Bruno has.
Bruno got 10. He got 10. Just about.
All competitions, but Bruno's numbers before Ronaldo came were 20 plus. So it feels like there's that reliance on him, and that isn't Ronaldo saying to people, "Just give it to me." It's the players just thinking, this is this superstar, and we need to give it to him because he will do everything. And you cannot blame Ronaldo for wanting to leave, because he's been in the Champions League his entire career. He's in the twilight of his career. And from what the rumours are and what he said is that he still wants to compete and win trophies, which you can only admire, because you've got to understand the Man United he'd left and the Man United he came back to is a completely different ballgame. The Man United he left had won the Champions League, had been consistently winning the Premier League, and was the top 2 favourites to win every single trophy every season, bar none, right? The United he's now come to is not even close to top 4, let alone winning major honours. So why should someone like Ronaldo want to stay at a club, regardless of what people say? He owes them, they owe him. I don't think he owes United anything personally, because he's just as much as United have helped him and took a risk on him, he's given the same back, and he's helped them win major trophies, right? So you can't argue with that. And the same with Harry Kane. If Harry Kane had left, I would have let him go with my personal blessing, because I know that he's done his job as a striker in contributing. It's the rest of the players that have let Harry Kane down, not just himself. So it would have been the same with Ronaldo. So I don't get this agenda with Carragher and, like you said, the guy from the major news paper. It is all just PR. It is all to drive an agenda that's ridiculous, to be honest. So you can't blame him. And I think the best thing would be in this situation is if Ronaldo does leave, for the whole fan base and the whole hierarchy to realize that one of the greatest players in football history, if not the best, arguably, is criticizing the way that the team is run inside and outside of the club. So something seriously must be wrong if a player of his stature is the one factor in why all these issues are now coming out, and it's Ronaldo's fault. A born winner is the point of your issues. Come on now. I think fans need to back not just Ronaldo in this situation, but they need to back the higher point of
the fans don't want to, look. That's
the problem, because people like you two genuinely seem like you have that kind of philosophy in a sense where you want United to get back to its glory days. But
Absolutely.
there's other fans who are Martial FC, you know, more bothered about, you know, individuals in that sector.
Oh yeah, bro. Listen,
I just think it's unfortunate because the guy has done his job, and yeah, everything else you said is absolutely spot on.
See, this is why I went after the fans first, because all over the years, and I think we can all say maybe we've done it ourselves. I've probably done it myself, to be completely honest. Is we do the target the individuals that are annoying us the most, the guys that we look at on the pitch and say, "You're not doing the job. I don't want to see you." But the issue is, once someone does speak out, the United fans get annoyed and say, "But what have you done?" That's not
bro.
the point.
Every single player they've done
And
that with.
exactly, and that's not actually the point. The point is, okay, if they haven't done anything, okay, cool, yeah, that's not good. However, if they've got the chest to say the stuff that you, myself, and many other United fans have been saying about the club that needs to happen, they're on your side, they're backing you, and the players that you're defending are the ones that keep producing the same old rubbish, and the reason why you're not winning anything. The players that you do FCs for, or you're happy for them because you love them because of the passion and all that, and then someone comes into the dressing room and says, "Hey guys, this ain't good enough," and you're mad. They're ruining the dressing room. Someone told me on Twitter today that Ronaldo's responsible for ruining the structure of the club and the dressing room.
I know. I see.
How many people are we going to keep blaming for this since 2014?
Another big agenda which you guys might agree to that you've read is Darwin Núñez, right? So the rumor was apparently that the reason why United didn't try their hardest to get Núñez was because they knew Ronaldo was staying, and now that he's not staying, they would have made more of an effort. But regardless of that, so you're telling me that Manchester United were going to be reliant on one out-and-out striker in a 37, going to be 38-year-old Ronaldo, when you've lost Cavani, a certain player is not in the picture at the moment, and you've got Martial, who was on loan at Sevilla, and he got 1 goal in the league. So you're telling me that out of everything in this whole dilemma, the reason why you didn't try harder to get a striker was because you couldn't rely on the 38.
Because the fans are dumb. Bro, Man United if you want to go to when Ronaldo was there, Man United won the Champions League and Premier League double in 2008. Everyone said that front three doesn't need anything, and they still added Berbatov. And you're complaining about bringing in another striker. The club and the fans, the Spider-Man meme, they're just as bad as each other. It's terrible. It's appalling at this point. So if Ronaldo does go, I don't want to hear any complaints, because I don't know what striker they think they're going to get in, because Núñez is gone. That was your target. He's gone. By the sounds of it, I don't think you can get any Lautaro Martinez or João Felix or whoever else is available. I don't think Dybala would come to Man United because he wants to play in the Champions League. He's not foolish.
I don't. I've said consistently I don't want Dybala, not because he's not a good player. I just don't think it'd work. But then again, I said I want Neymar, and everyone called me a prick on it on Twitter.
I think Alvaro Morata's
if you sell Ronaldo, you'll panic. The board will panic, and they will put every single bit of money they have into some PR signing. It will happen.
Yeah. I mean, watch. It's gonna
Morata makes sense, no?
Hey, Kel, don't do that. Don't do that.
Listen, Kel, we're going to get on to Arsenal very shortly.
I know,
we've got a lot of questions. Obviously, first and foremost, shout out to everyone tuning in. Please keep slapping a like and all that good stuff. Some random ones. Raj, we will come to Frankie de Jong very shortly. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring your comment. Rumors saying if Ronaldo goes, we might sign Gnabry, and another one saying, would you swap Ronaldo for Lewandowski? I mean, the Lewandowski one.
Yeah, they're talking about if you get rid of Ronaldo to get Anthony from Ajax, but that's a winger.
That doesn't even make sense.
Any sense.
Oh, no. Do you know why? Do you know why? Because their favorite Frenchman.
We were going to get Anthony anyways, Kojo. Apparently. We were going to get Anthony anyway, so now apparently he's a replacement for Ronaldo. So that's just a cop-out, isn't it? Because we were linked to Anthony for ages, and now Ronaldo's going, oh, he's a replacement. No, he was meant to be an addition, but you're just chatting shit, as always. I mean, it's look, at the end of the day, it's an absolute embarrassment. But speaking of embarrassments, it leads me on nasty to Frankie de Jong situation, because for me personally, I have said consistently since day dot, I understand Ten Hag wants him. I get it. He's your man. But if he does not want to come, allow it. As I said in the WhatsApp group with Kojo and the man them, it's not trying to link a gal, and she's not into you and you're begging her. Just let it go, bro. There's more gal in the scene. Let it go, big man. It's so embarrassing. I'm getting secondhand embarrassment from us begging a player to come. He doesn't want to come. Okay, he might come because he's forced to come. And I know I'll be happy because he's a top player. But deep down, it's a bit embarrassing. Let's be real. Like, it's a bit pathetic. That big old Manchester United are begging a man. The man has said no how many times? But no, we're still here. Just go for someone else, man. I don't know who, but fucking work it out. Like, I swear to God. We're going to end up with Tillemans. And
it's really bad, though, because the rumour is that the reason why Eriksen hasn't signed yet is because he's waiting for Frankie de Jong to sign. So,
I don't know what's going on with Eriksen. Like, that should
apparently, he's waiting to see how your transfer window is in terms of where he thinks you'll get.
Fucking Eriksen's waiting to see.
I know you're relying on the free agent is basically playing you by seeing your transfer window,
Bro, that's a fucking shit we are about to do. I'm sorry to keep swearing, but we are so pathetic. They should have got Martinez and Eriksen done about 3 weeks ago. Okay, the Martinez one, fair enough, okay. But granted, if you wanted him, we could have got it done on the first day of June, because it's not Ten Hag isn't aware if this guy's a good player or not. He's had him for God knows how many years. So it's not like he's just burst onto the scene or you've just been made aware of this guy's talents, because it doesn't make sense. Like, all of a sudden, Arsenal are in for Martinez. Now Manchester United winning. So let's talk about that. Okay, so obviously it's quite clear that both Man United and Arsenal are in for the same player. What are your thoughts on this matter? Who do you think is coming out on top, Kill?
I honestly have no idea. So there's you got to look at the facts. And the facts are that he obviously has a relationship and a working relationship with Ten Hag, so that favours Manchester United. And in terms of teams that are more likely to slap down the 50 million. Was it 50 or is it 52? Something crazy like that.
I think it was
more likely to be Manchester United than us if you look at the way Arsenal's been playing in the transfer market this season. I don't think if he does come to any of us, I don't think he plays centre back. What is he, 5'9"? So it's not exactly the towering centre back that both of our teams need. If he defends well, like Kojo said in the group chat, then it's fair play. But the Premier
his nickname's the
Butcher.
Butcher.
Nickname the Butcher. But like Kojo says on our podcast many times, the Premier League's a different beast. That's a throwback. If you know, you know. But no, it's not like Eredivisie where the players are very technical and cute. You need a bit about you. And yes, he's obviously nicknamed the Butcher, but being nicknamed the Butcher, playing in South America, and then coming to play in the Premier League, very, very different.
Yeah, I mean, this coming from a kid as well, this just sums up Man United. We wanted Timber. I mean, for me personally, I wanted Timber as well. He just suits the way Ten Hag wants to play. But regarding the whole Arsenal and Man United situation, I mean, if he actually does pick Arsenal over Man United, that is such a big L. It's unreal. not because of the two clubs. Before someone clips us and said this guy's salty, but the fact that it's a Ten Hag player, so Ten Hag player, we're matching the bid, or if not bidding a bit higher. This guy said, "Nah, I don't want to work with Ten Hag. I've had enough of the guy. I want to go elsewhere." I mean, I just think it's a bit embarrassing, to be quite honest with you. Like Akil said, he wasn't our primary target. We've kind of done what we did with Fred when Man City were linked to him, and then we just come in and took it. And for me personally, it just seems like it's completely unorganized. Yes, we might get away with it because obviously he suits Ten Hag's system, etc. And people will be like, it's a stroke of genius. But for me, it wasn't really part of the plan. It's just happened now because XYZ hasn't come to fruition. But listen, let's talk about other signings. Let's talk about Raphina. Obviously, Raphina has not happened, but he's rejected practically everyone in the Premier League. He's rejected, obviously, Tottenham. Just throwing in there. Obviously, he's rejected Arsenal, and of course, he's rejected Chelsea. Kish, who's come out worse? What do you reckon? Who do you think's got?
Yeah, I mean, look, I said this in our group chat last week. This week actually, earlier, saying he will go to Barcelona. The personal terms were agreed in January. Barcelona hoped Leeds were going to get relegated because his buyout clause was going to be 25 million, which would have been an absolute steal if they got relegated. It didn't happen. Barcelona actually didn't figure that was going to happen. So when the price doubled or more than doubled, they didn't have the money for it. They've been waiting and dodgy dealing, to be honest, with this lever that they're getting in terms of selling their television rights to La Liga. So it was only a matter of time that it was going to happen. I think initially Barcelona were trying to sell Frankie de Jong to you very quickly so that they can get the funds and pay it off now. But after that deal has been done, I think the ball is literally in Barcelona's court now in terms of what they want to do. And it was always going to happen. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Arsenal, Man United and Chelsea would have loved to have him. But for these Brazilian players, a lot of them, their dreams are to play for a Barcelona, Real Madrid. It has been for years upon end. You look at the Robinhos, Rivaldos, Ronaldos, Ronaldinhos. It is literally, even Coutinho, you know, these sort of players. It is their kind of dream to play for these kind of clubs. So you can't really blame him, to be honest. He's experienced the Premier League. He's been a consistent performer. But now he wants to go to, you know, in his own opinion, you know, the very best clubs that you have as a child from, you know, Brazil. So I can't blame him at all. The only fun thing about it is on Twitter when we all can just like take the piss out of each other, really, about where he's been. It reminds me a bit like the Williams situation, where he had a medical at Tottenham, then he had a medical at Liverpool, and then he ended up going to Chelsea in the end. He had 3 medicals in the same day. And then he ended up going to Chelsea. And then when he was washed, he went to Arsenal. So, yeah, it was a bit of everything on that one.
When he was washed. He always washed.
Does this Raphina thing come down to Arteta's pull, Kale? What do you reckon? Is Arteta not that guy? Because I got told about that guy. Like, what do you reckon?
You know my thoughts on the man. He's not that guy. But the simple fact of the matter is, Arsenal are doing the definition of insanity. That's if you search up the definition of insanity, you got a picture of Arsenal right next to it, man. We did this last year with Buendia. They wanted a certain amount of money. We said no. Here's like 7 million less than what you asked for, and we're shocked that the player doesn't come to us. Of course, he isn't going to come to us. If we don't match their bid. I mean, Chelsea matched their bid. That's what big boys do. Chelsea said, how much you want? 60 million? Here you go. And lo and behold, the bid was accepted. Obviously, he didn't want to go to Chelsea, but it is what it is. If you don't bid the money that they're asking for, you ain't going to get the player.
Who's got Champions League music?
Sorry, okay, listen. I'm still trying to sort the internet out. I'm so sorry.
Wow. It's been a while, man. I feel like you should have switched providers by now.
Oh my god.
EE, I'm telling you, EE. That's what it should have. You should have gone to EE.
I think every time that Arteta Paul comes into play, the music just comes on. I don't know.
Maybe.
But, no, in Arteta's defense, you know, like. Nah, he ain't got a defense. He's fucking.
All the pundits are like fully backing Arteta at the moment. Have you noticed? Like they're all saying that it's the vision. It's like
yeah.
All the pundits are backing Arteta, saying that he has a plan, he has a vision.
The amount of Arsenal fans, that were triggered about my fake tweet about Richard.
I saw it, man. Bloody hell.
Bro, they're still tweeting me to this day. But listen, I'm still getting tweets of Arsenal fan. They made a video of me on fucking TikTok replying to me, like literally, and then they quoted it with Ronaldo leaving and all that shit. So I got coached. The literally the day after Man United violated me, I thought, oh my god, the time is shocking. But shout out to the man in the chat, G, my guy. I appreciate you always. Shahid as well in the building. Keep getting your comments, and obviously we're gonna keep going through all the transfer news. If there's any players that you wanted to discuss, obviously put them in the comment section, or I'll just throw it to the guys. Right. I kind of want you to obviously stay within the premise of the Premier League. One player that has actually left, and it is confirmed. You know, some say he's world class, some say he's a fraud. For me personally, I call him Romelu Lukaku. Kish! Oh, you thought I was gonna forget.
This is a beautiful day. Go on, Kish.
Yeah, listen, I ain't ever gonna let you down for this one.
Yeah, no.
For those of you that don't know,
he
was on my neck for 2 years straight about Lukaku, saying he's world class. Man United ruined him. Man United days, but guess what? He's gone back to Inter Milan, and he said, "I'm back, baby."
There's a couple of things in this storyline, and to start off with, it's obvious I'm going to defend parts of it. Yeah, there's parts of it that I will defend, even though I'm scratching hard. Look, you sign a striker for 97, 98 mil, some around those terms, and you sign a striker that really seems like you never wanted. Tuchel, for me, it seems like never actually wanted him. It was more of a case of Abramovich bringing him in and saying to Tuchel, would you fancy him? Tuchel was like, not really, but I'll have him because we don't have a striker. That's what it seemed like to me, because as soon as he got into the setup, it just seemed like they weren't playing to his strengths. I think maybe in particular it was when James and Chilwell got injured, because before they got injured, he was actually scoring quite regularly at the first start of the season. As soon as they got injured, he then changed his tactics completely, because I think he went more with a back four because he didn't have the wing backs to replace a James and a Chilwell, which is fair enough. And then the interview came, and then all the things after then. So that part I can't defend him at all.
It just sounds like a load of bullshit.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, that part of it I can't defend at all. Look, regardless of what I feel in terms of, look, the manager didn't play to his strengths, etc. When you pay that much money for a striker who himself says that he's up there, the highest echelons of Lewandowski, Ronaldo, Haaland, Benzema. He himself said this. No one told him.
He said when you talk about Ronaldo and Lewandowski, you mentioned
he won the Italian league with Inter Milan and came out with that statement. He probably he obviously got his ego to next levels, and he thought he was in the high echelons. He then came with all that big talk, came to Chelsea, and I thought Chelsea were going to win the Premier League, as a lot of people did, to be fair, at that point in time, including our regular Dan, who also said the same thing. And it's absolutely bombed on me in particular, because I thought I almost guaranteed that he'd be the top goal scorer in the Premier League, which looked very, very embarrassing of me. And I've taken a massive L for the guy.
It happens, kid.
He just he lacks respect. The fact that after a season he's decided to go straight back and run to Inter Milan, when really he should be putting his head down and saying, look, I will prove the manager wrong. I will prove everyone wrong, and I will have the season of my life this season. And instead of doing that, he's ran back, cried. Apparently he cried when the move was confirmed to his lawyer. And and then he's taking selfies and TikTok videos with the owner of Inter Milan. It's embarrassing, mate. It really is embarrassing. And to be honest, even for me, as much of a fan of him I am, I've lost all respect for the guy, to be honest. It just shows everything about his character that you wanted to see, and it's not a good look on him at all. And he's not really, even after that interview, he's not fully apologized to the Chelsea fans properly. Really, it was a PR statement into the apology that he gave. And
that interview, right?
It's probably one of the most disrespectful interviews.
Bro, that interview is actually embarrassing. That interview mid-season as well, and the fact that he didn't even get that much shit for it. Like, Chelsea fans forgave him because he scored one goal like the game after. They're like, oh, he's back, blah, blah. Listen, I mean, where do I start with Romelu Lukaku? The first and foremost, he's probably the biggest bitch to ever grace the Premier League. The fact that he's come back to Chelsea, after all that full cycle, man thought his Lion King and that cycle of life and shit, gone all the way back, come back to where it began for him, gave all this bullshit, oh, I'm back home. Did all these videos with Drogba, and he's retweeting Drogba. And
that's even more embarrassing. His hero is Drogba. Drogba.
He's there. Drogba.
I want to see Drogba get interviewed, by the way. I want to see what Drogba's like thinking of all of this, to be honest.
Kids, don't worry. I'll tell you what Drogba's like. Listen, Drogba's sat there thinking, this guy is the biggest bitch I've ever seen, and I wasted my time tweeting this guy and gassing him up. The guy's come back, right? And, okay, fair enough, Man United, all you got to do, whatever maybe. He's come back, given it this big in, and he's come back with, the Italian, league title and whatnot, thinking he's fucking in Lewandowski's league, and he's saying, chat about me and put my name in, on that table. And he's come back and scored probably less goals than Fred, within, this calendar year. He's been an absolute disgrace from start to finish. That interview was an embarrassment. The guy's got displaced by Havertz and an out-of-form Timo Werner, and he's got no excuse, and all he can do is blame himself. But guess what he's doing? He's blaming the manager. World-class players find a way to fit themselves into a system, bro. Like that Chelsea system, okay, granted, it might not see him, it might not be down to a T and play through Lukaku and all this shit, but just make it work, big man. Make it work. Listen, for me, he's an absolute piss take. The way he's acted, the fact that Chelsea fans called him R9 as well. You're an absolutely embarrassing fan base. As it is, you guys had the audacity to call this man R9. The guy's touch is worse than fucking Agalo's R9. He's not even fucking the best African in the flipping thingy, man. This, bro, shit player. And I'm so happy he's gone back to Inter Milan, because he's probably going to pop off there and fake fanboys are going to say, look at his stats at flipping Inter Milan and all this bullshit. But yeah, listen, he's an absolute flipping piss take. And what he's done with the TikTok and I'm back, baby. Shut up, bro. I'm back. You've been here for flipping.
That's been that one message season, bro. From Sammy. Have you heard that have you heard the rumors about that? What Sammy's just posted?
What's he said? You seen the report of Tuchel Lukaku content?
Have you seen it? Have you seen what the rumor? Apparently, they were watching a Tottenham game, him and Tuchel, and we got battered. Apparently, I don't. And then he says, "Look, can you see your daddy there getting absolutely battered?" And apparently, that got Lukaku really angry.
Oh my God! But listen,
if only he put that anger onto the pitch. Oh,
can you put it to the buffet? But listen, James put this comment in here, and I think it's only right that we discuss this. A great comment by James. Keep getting your comments in. Just gonna quickly read a couple out. I know I'll put my screen. Raj Katecha, shout out to you, broski. Chelsea loaning out a 100 million player and don't care about. I mean, it is true actually. Chelsea got money to burn, man. It's actually mad. I have to respect Chelsea, how club is run. You're not performing. You're out the door. Like Lukaku, while United had on. I mean, I don't want to talk about Man United. They're absolutely dead. Just like the deadwood. Jerry's in the building. Yes, that's big Rom. One thing Ollie got right. Fair play to Ollie on that one. Can't dispute that. And Chelsea is a poison challenge for strikers. I mean, that is a fair point. Maybe he's a Chelsea problem. Who knows? But I'm not giving Lukaku any excuses. Listen, let's talk about Gabriel Jesus. Of course, he has signed for Arsenal. I don't think it's official. Like, have Arsenal put it out there?
No, they haven't put it out.
Well, we know it's official because he said, "Here we go," so that means it's official. But listen, a lot has been said. Obviously, Dan Lawless isn't here, but him in particular has made it very clear that Jesus is massively overhyped. So, Kojo, Kale, whoever wants to take this one first, what are your guys' thoughts on the Jesus signing in particular, and obviously your thoughts on how he'll bed into the Arsenal team?
I don't think Jesus has ever been hyped like that, so I don't know where that comment came from. I mean, he hasn't been hyped the way Antonio was hyped, but we move. So, I think
Antonio's better than Kane, to be fair.
Like, Antonio's better than Ruud van Nistelrooy, but we'll go there for another day. So no, look, with Jesus, the tricky thing for Arsenal is he hasn't got a great goal scoring record in the Premier League, but you have to consider at City there is a lot of rotation. When he was there was a certain Sergio Aguero that was in his position. So, like, he was never the man. He was never the guy. He's got great movement. He knows how to press very well, actually. But with Arsenal, I don't know what the general plan is with Arteta, because Lacazette aside, and Nketiah's never going to be of a high level like that, but there wasn't a really good pressing system at Arsenal yet.
How dare you?
How dare you? I'm sorry. I'm just delivering the gospel,
Our pressing is fantastic.
No, it looks like he's trying to get a pressing system, and Jesus will be the front runner of that. Obviously, he worked with him as a coach at City. It's not a bad signing. I actually think it could work. But the interesting thing is for the first time, he's going to be the man at a club. Do
you think he can quit as the main man, as Bass is saying? Yeah,
I think he can. It's just I don't know how much Arsenal will create for him. They have creative players there. I'm not doubting that, but I don't know how much they'll create for him. If they create a high volume of chances, he'll score goals. He'll probably get 20 league goals next season if they give him a lot of chances. Absolutely. I'm saying a lot of chances. He's not someone that finishes 1 in 3 chances. I'm talking about 1 in 5, 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not prolific like that. But if you give a striker enough,
I think that's a bit hard.
We haven't been a 5 chances a game team since fucking Arsene Wenger, man. I don't know.
That's true.
I don't know. I'm gonna take off from here.
Can I just throw this out here, Kale, before we pass it to you, because obviously it's your team. Just Roger saying that Arsenal need another striker, something different. Raj does not like Nketiah.
Raj, Nketiah, call me.
They're calling each other. It's hotline bling at Arsenal right now.
You know, just listen. I just want to throw this out here with the Jesus thing, right? Before we get into it, because Kojo, I know where you're coming from. To be fair, but this is something that I think is quite important. I don't think he's had a fair run of games to really be criticized like that. I know a lot of people are saying he's not scored a lot of goals, his stats, whatever, because people love stats, and that's what Lawless was saying. But for me personally, it's hard to judge a striker if they get him drip-fed minutes here and there. Obviously, in a Man City team that's flying, of course, you expect him to, have a higher volume of goals. I understand that. But if you're not playing week in, week out, you kind of lose that sharpness, you lose that edge. Towards the end of the season for Man City, you saw him playing weekly, and you saw a different Jesus. For me personally, obviously the meme was going around. This man's been linked to Arsenal now. He's trying to perform, so to speak. People taking the piss, so to speak. But the point I'm trying to make is when he started to play week in, week out, I thought we saw a different player. I've never massively rated him, but I thought he was miles better than what I actually thought of him. Because for me, he hasn't really had that run of games in Man City, obviously, as we know with Pep in general. But I think if he has that run of games, he's back properly, which he's going to be, because he's going to be the main man for the first time, as we've said. I'm not saying he's going to set the world alight, but I think he's going to be very good for us. And I think he'll probably get like 15 goals all comps, which is a fairly decent return. A lot better than Lacazette, obviously. But I think he's a good signing. I don't understand where this uproar is. I just don't think he's as good as Arsenal fans are saying. But I still think it's a good signing. And I do agree with Raj. I do think you need another option, because Nketiah can't be your only option. I know you've got Smith Rowe and Martinelli, etc. But
is that number 14? He should be the option. That's what Nketiah should be. He should be the option. If you're taking that number, you're taking that legacy on, he should be the option. Now, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Jesus thing. I get where you're coming from, Usman, and he did when he did in the last few games, he did get a decent run. He did score a few goals, but he had Kevin De Bruyne behind him. He had Bernardo Silva behind him. He had a whole litany, Phil Foden, Sterling, etc., so on and so forth. Those are top quality, world-class players behind him. And I'm not saying that Arsenal don't have some top quality players. I think Odegaard's going to be a fantastic player. Saka, Smith Rowe, so on and so forth. But they're not the finished article. And we haven't exactly been a team that's created a lot of chances. And I don't think Jesus is a 1-in-2 striker. I don't think he's a 1-in-3 striker. He may be a 1-in-4 striker. And what we need right now is somebody that might be a 1-in-2. Now there isn't an option for that.
There isn't any 1-in-2 strikers about though. Like,
no, that's my point. I don't think there's many going there, but it still doesn't solve our issue of scoring goals now, does it? But I think what he will be is what Lacazette was trying to be for Arteta. The only problem is that he didn't score that many goals, and he did because of his age, he did tire out a bit. But I think he's going to be a decent signing for us. So would he be worth the 45 million? Probably. I mean, 45 million in today's market is chump change. So I think he'll be worth it.
I think people are overreacting.
To be fair, Kel, you signed obviously Vieira. So that's attacking midfielder, creative player, or no, he does a bit of both. To be fair, do you feel like you need to add in one more position to maybe give him a bit more? Because you got midfielder. I'm thinking. I don't know if you guys are picky you, but on the right and left back positions, particularly obviously going forward in that, do you need to add anything extra?
If you look at it, honestly, I don't think Arsenal's problem is in creativity. I think it's in what's the word I'm looking for? In fulfilling that goal, because we got a whole bunch of creative players. Execution is the word I'm looking for. Execution. We got a whole bunch of creative players. Like I mentioned before, Saka, Odegaard, Smith Rowe. I can name a whole bunch of them. We got a whole bunch of great players. The problem is we don't get the best out of them with the current system and the current manager.
Apparently Vieira is injured. I don't know.
No, not anymore. I thought he was as well, but
he had a cast on his foot, but I think he's fine. You don't pass a medical with a broken foot, so I'm pretty sure he's fine. But yeah, man, I don't know. Is he going to be a world beater? I don't think so, but I think he's going to be.
I'm going to stir the pot here now, Kish. Obviously, over to you. Not the Jesus thing, but the question that everyone wants to know: who is the better signing, Richarlison or Jesus? Which one are you saying?
For me, it's about setup. I mean, if you look at we've got a player in Richarlison that can play all three positions, whereas Gabriel.
Didn't you say he was overrated?
No, again, I'm coming to that. We've got a player that can play at Tottenham in all three positions as a squad player. Arsenal needs someone that can start, every single game up front. And I think in terms of actual qualities, player for player, I think Jesus has a lot more personal qualities on the pitch than what Richarlison does. That's just my personal opinion. And you said that he's like 1-in-4. He's actually 1-in-2.5 for Man City. But if you look at his goals and assist contribution in 2 games, he gets a goal or assist. Now, granted, he's at a Man City setup where they create a bundle of opportunities with De Bruyne, Silva, Foden, and there's loads of other players that create opportunities for him. But at Manchester City, He wasn't ever given the main role. He wasn't ever given the full time. It's the same with Sterling and other players. You play for 4 or 5 games and then you're out for 4 or 5 games, even if you're playing.
No,
well,
but there was a time when Sterling had a main.
There was.
But Jesus, he's been there. And was this season their only recognized striker?
Yeah, exactly. And
wasn't given that time. You can put it down to him, or Pep being Pep, or you can put it down to Pep's not believing in him as a number 9. I think it might be the line.
And you've got to think one of the most important factors that you've all missed is the fact that Arteta was at Man City when Jesus was there. Arteta knows him probably better than Pep, really, because he was a coach. He was a first team coach, so he knows what his strengths and weaknesses are. Now, do I see him scoring 25, 30 goals? No, I don't. I'd be surprised if that happens. Do I see him scoring 10 to 15 Premier League goals? Yes, I 100% see that from him. And you're right with the likes of Smith Rowe, Vieira, Odegaard, Saka, Smith, all these players that you've got on the sides, even Martinelli. There will be chances created for him. Last season was proven that you create abundance of opportunities. If you actually look at Lacazette's ratio for games to goals and opportunities missed, he's one of the highest in the tallies in the league from last season. So, he's not the worst finisher, Gabriel Jesus. You give him opportunities and he will score goals. And another thing about pressing that you mentioned, if you look at Gabriel Jesus' running stats and his chasing stats, it's up there with any striker in the Premier League. So
I think he's the best in the league at that, actually.
Yeah. You'll get that dogged attitude from Arteta. And at age 25, it's a signing that's not 30, 31. He's still got a good few years in him, before he even maybe gets to his prime, because these days with footballers, they don't reach their peak till they're 28, 29. So, he's under the best manager in terms of a person that's known him before. And he's under the best setup where there's young players around him as well who are energetic, ready to press, ready to go for it. And it just seems like there's an actual playing philosophy rather than individualism that, let's sign Isak, let's sign, these kind of players that on the global stage in Europe are known as big players. But in terms of a Premier League experience, someone who's been there for years, someone who's won trophies, someone who's been with a manager that he knows from before, it just seems to me like the perfect fit for Arsenal. And for 45 million, 40 plus 5 in add-ons, you can't go wrong for a 25-year-old, to be honest.
Keisha's gassed me up for Jesus, man.
No, let me not lie. He's sold. No, bro, he's right.
Yeah, Keisha sold me on that one. I'm not gonna lie, but I did ask you about Richarlison, but you don't give a shit about him.
I would have preferred Jesus, but Jesus would have never come to Spurs because he wouldn't have been a starter, 100%. So he's Arsenal because he's guaranteed game time.
I don't know. Let me not lie. He might.
You think Jesus was going to start at Tottenham?
I think he could have started at Tottenham.
Really? Nah, come on, Kojo, man. He's
not
never
over Kulusevski.
started.
Listen. You're talking to someone that bigged up Kulusevski before you joined your club. So you
but even that. Where would he play?
On the right side. Obviously, Kane and Son have got their positions sorted. Kulusevski. Think about Kulusevski. What I'm going to say to you is, at Juventus, he also started very, very well. And then he fell off a little bit.
That's fine, but Jesus is not a winger, Kojo. You don't rely on Jesus to be your number one winger.
On the wing he can play there for you, and he can do it well. You're talking about a front three that presses. If he presses and does the jam job properly on that right side and supplies Kane and Son very well, you're talking about a front three that's just...
what's happened, Kojo? He himself has told his agent that the next club I go to, I want to be the number one striker. I want to be the middle. I want to be the main focus point.
That's fine. But he's also good enough. No, he's told his agent that, so him going to Arsenal is not the issue. If he told his agent that he's going to Arsenal to be number 9, fantastic, because like I said, it's obviously gone, and then Ketty's not going to be their number 9. But you're saying that he wouldn't start at Tottenham. I'm not agreeing with that.
You can't guarantee. If you're Conte, would you be able to? If you're Conte and Arteta, who can guarantee him as a manager? Who can guarantee him as a manager that he will start?
Again, you're taking it wrong. I didn't say Conte's going to say to you, you're going to guarantee start here. What I'm saying is he's good enough to take Kulusevski's place in that front three. I didn't say he's a guaranteed starter in terms of Conte. But you can play that.
I know. Look, I might have been bamboozled by the form that Kulusevski showed last season. It might backfire.
It was fantastic. There's no reason to drop him.
From what I've seen, I've stuck my neck out for Kulusevski so far because I said I wouldn't replace Raphina. I wouldn't even take Raphina ahead of Kulusevski from what I've seen of Kulusevski so far. And again, that could backfire, but we'll see.
That's fair. That's fair. Again, I'm not trying to say Kulusevski is a bum. I've said as Juventus, he fell off a little bit. He's still a good player. He's still very young.
He's very young. Was he 20?
Yeah, the point just being, if Jesus can start on the right, considering his competition in that position is the likes of Mahrez and Bernardo Silva, and do it well, he can start at Tottenham also. But
that's what I mean. In terms of the setup, and you look at physicality and you look at player for player, I think that's probably the reason why Conte's gone for Richarlison, because he does seem like a Conte type player in terms of physicality and the way he is. He's quite dogged, isn't he, in terms of the way that Richarlison plays, and that's probably what he was like at Tottenham. Whereas I think Jesus, for what he is, he's more of a flair player. He's more of a he has a bit more.
He's easy on the eye.
Easy on the eye. Whereas Richarlison's kind of like that ugly kind of player in a sense where he's
a bastard.
He is pretty much.
You need one, man. You need one. We don't have enough. In the Premier League. But listen, I want to move on from Jesus, another Manchester City player that is on his way out, likely anyways. Obviously, again, this is not confirmed. Raheem Sterling. I'm going to kick this one off first and foremost, right? I honestly think this guy is up there with one of the most disrespected footballers in the league. People just brand him a tapping merchant, but they don't understand that you need unbelievable football IQ to consistently, not a one-off or a two-off or a three-off, consistently be in the position where you tap in merchant it. That's not by pure luck. You can't do it for a long, sustained period of time by luck. It's by timing of your own, knowing where to go, where the danger is, where the opportunities are going to lie. And he's nailed that. He's got that down to a T, and you got to put respect on his name. But this is the way football people think. They don't understand the concept. But for me personally, right, Raheem Sterling would be a fantastic signing for any team that he joins, because not only has he got capabilities of creating goals, but as we've seen, the guy has been banging 20 goals left, right, and centre, week in, week out, season in, season out, should I say. Granted, for a good Man City team. But again, coming back to this Jesus comment, when he's had a run of games, in Sterling's case, the guy's looked like a world beater at times. He generally has. He's a match winner. He's got the capabilities of, grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and, doing great things. And I think for me personally, he doesn't get the respect he deserves. So what I'm going with is, Chelsea gets Sterling. I think that's an absolutely phenomenal signing for them. It suits their style of play. It means he doesn't have to defend in the system that they've got. And he'll have a lot of capabilities to get on the ball in the dangerous areas. And for me personally, Sterling to Chelsea, it's an absolute no-brainer. I think it would be a fantastic signing for them. With the price being quoted, I understand he's got 1 year left. Obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's got 1 year left, from out of 2 years. But 50 million, okay, granted, it's a bit, it's a bit on the high end given the fact it's only got 1 year contract. But listen, a fantastic signing for Chelsea. I think people are kind of disrespecting him massively with his ability, but secondly, it's kind of gone under the radar and people aren't really talking about it. So for me personally, Raheem Sterling could be one of the signings of the season if he does go to Chelsea. I know Haaland obviously would be up there, but what are your guys' thoughts? Kale, we'll come to you first and foremost. Obviously, we'll go around the room as always. Kale, what are your thoughts on Sterling to potentially on his way to Chelsea?
Well, give me 1 second. Come back to me.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come to Kojo. Kojo, what are your thoughts, again?
I love Sterling, man. I kind of wish that Sterling was known as a number 9 striker, because he's the kind of player that you want young players to watch as a movement player.
His movement off the shoulder is fantastic, by the way.
So good. So good. And Chelsea will benefit off that because their previous striker couldn't do that. And I think with Kai Havertz as well, actually, I think he will link up well with Kai Havertz. I think Kai Havertz will play a sort of false 9 role. Sterling will come off the left and they will find a way to link up and they'll do it well. What I'm interested to see is who they're going to use to complement on the right side. I think Ziyech's out of the door, isn't he? And if this
is he going to AC Milan?
I think that's almost done. I don't know how close it is, but that is the negotiation so far. I don't know who they're going to put on that right side. It's going to be interesting to see. But no, Sterling will score, man. Sterling's so good. He's intelligent. He's decisive. which is something like, it's weird because there was a period in his career where he missed the easiest chances because you weren't sure about his finishing, but he suddenly just brought that more composure into his game, more decision making of the highest level. And yeah, at Chelsea, for whatever they're getting him for as well, because it doesn't look like a big fee. That's a steal, man. And he's in his prime years. City have had him for a long time, and he's in his prime years now. So they're getting a player that's more than ready to continue doing his thing in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think for me personally, like obviously you kind of mentioned, the fact that with City as well, I just don't think they've appreciated him. Obviously, they have had it from a very long period. I think he's like the second on the list for all-time Premier League goal scorer, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's second. If I'm,
it might be.
I think it was Aguero, Sterling, but in general, like you said, his ability to go into the positions, he will benefit Havertz a lot. Chelsea are trying to play with the fluid front three, but that is something that they have struggled with. Kale, do you think Sterling could potentially be the answer to fixing that? Their conundrums in the final third, because that's been their biggest issue realistically throughout the entirety of the season that's just gone. The front three have just not worked.
I think he may well be. The thing that's going under the radar a lot is his leadership ability, and you see it a lot more for England than you do for City. But it's that decisiveness, like Coach was saying, it's the decisiveness up top, which is going to be a key factor for Chelsea if he does end up going there. He brings in a whole bunch of players around him, and whenever he plays for England, there's a calmness in the front three. They know that he's either going to be in the right position or he's going to find them in their correct positions. And I think at Chelsea right now, there's a serious lack of leaders that are in their prime years. You can talk about Aspilicueta, you talk about Thiago Silva, but they very much are seemingly on the way out in terms of age. Sterling comes, I think how old is Sterling? He's quite young because he's been around for ages. He's been around since he was 18. I think he's like 30. So this is the right time for him. He needs a fresh start because at City, you mentioned disrespect. I think that's the place where he's being most disrespected. I don't understand why Pep has lost his faith in him. It doesn't make sense. This was a guy that was winning him the first league titles when he was at City. Yes, he had Aguero, but I think Sterling. There was a point, I think, that in that second season where he did win the league, it was Sterling who was scoring all the last minute goals and pushing him forward, especially in the early stage of the season. And I think he'll be a huge miss at City. I mean, they do have Haaland, but he brings something different that a whole bunch of those players that City don't have. And I think that might be the reason that he's falling out with Pep. But fresh start, and he will be back on top. I do believe that.
Yeah, no, I think. If you bring in Haaland, you can't really say they're gonna potentially miss it. So, Haaland, Sterling, if you put it like that, you completely change the complexion of the conversation.
No, you know what I mean. No, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you were saying. I think with Pep in general, like, he's just like that with all players. Like, even with Mahrez, like with Grealish, I forgot Grealish is still there, to be quite honest with you guys. But they have got options, haven't they? They've got Grealish, Mahrez, obviously got Foden, whatnot. But Kish, what do you reckon in terms of Chelsea's front line? Obviously, we've kind of spoken about Lukaku's on his way out, Ziyech is on his way out. Dembele, there's a lot of rumours circulating regarding Dembele that he might be signing a new contract, which baffles me. Yeah. What do Chelsea need to fix that line? Is Sterling potentially one of those?
Sterling is a really good start. Sterling actually has been around for that long, but he's only 27. So
this is 27.
This is
no, he's not 27.
He's 27. I've just checked.
He's ready to go.
He's 27. He's in the 100 club already. He'll probably get 150 Prem plus goals by the time he retires. The way he's going out, which is fantastic for a winger. That's the modern. He's literally the perfect example of a modern day winger, to be honest, in terms of the goal output, etc. Yeah. And I think if we didn't have a Premier League with Salah and Mane, there'd be a lot more appreciation for Raheem Sterling. It's just the numbers that in particular Salah has got in the last few years. I think players like your Sterlings have gone completely unnoticed in the Premier League. I think it's been brewing for a while that Sterling's going to leave, to be honest, not just this season. I think if you look, even last season, Pep was talking about his contract situation and Sterling didn't want to sign it because apparently Sterling wanted to get paid as much as De Bruyne, which is the highest paid player at the club. City didn't feel that he deserved that, and it's been going on for 2-3 years now. So it was definitely going to come to to an end at some point. I think the only thing I'm surprised with Sterling is the fact that there's not more clubs after him. Like you would have thought with I know we'd never go back, they say, but with Mane leaving Liverpool,
can we throw Arsenal in the conversation? Like,
I can't throw Arsenal in the conversation because someone like Sterling, still in his career at 27, should be going to the very best clubs. Not saying that Arsenal's not a great club. But I'm saying
say it with your chest. Stop sitting on the
I'm saying that this
what you really want to say.
Really? Why are you trying to be politically correct for?
But what I'm saying is, like, I don't understand why, like, your Real Madrid, like, your Barcelona's going for Raphina. Why not Sterling? I personally don't understand why
he's not. But
all clubs aren't going for Sterling. But regardless, for Chelsea, he would be a fantastic signing. But I think people underestimate. I know people say that United's a big rebuilding job, but if you look at Chelsea, it's a massive job. If they're going to let go of Ziyech. It looks like that Pulisic don't know what's happening there. Havertz is not a striker. Lukaku is gone. If you look at their back line, Alonso looks like he's going. Christensen's gone. Rudiger's gone. They've got issues in midfield as well, where Jorginho apparently is going to leave as well. You're talking, if you actually calculate it, you're talking 6-7 players that they need. And that's huge. So regardless of how much money they have and what Bowley wants to do with these mega signings, Sterling alone will not save them from winning. I mean, they will need a lot more than that. I mean, you're talking 2 centre-backs maybe.
Kish, that kind of leads me on to the next topic anyway. So you've done that perfectly. Yeah. But let's just throw a couple of names. That's obviously Roger said Ake. The other one would be De Ligt, which I've seen a lot of. Yeah. What are thoughts on Ake and De Ligt? Are there the 2 centre-backs?
The Ake one I don't understand, because if you're a club that's trying to win the Premier League, right? So I'm sure that's their main goal, that they want to challenge Man City and Liverpool, and they want to win the league. That's why they compete. That's why they put all that money in for Lukaku, right? What's Ake going to do? I'm sorry, the number apparently that's been quoted is £50 million. So if you're going to give if you're going to give Man City 100 million for Sterling and Ake, that is. I mean, if you're Man City, you're like, bring it on, because that means that's paid for our money for Phillips and that's paid for our fee for Haaland. So we're on break even.
And Alvarez. Thank
you very much, Chelsea. Yeah, thank you very much, Chelsea. Man City, not winning. The De Ligt one, 100%. I can see that. He's 22 years of age. The Juventus move hasn't worked for him, but before that, he was coveted as the best, up there with Van Dijk in terms of the best centre-half. So he makes perfect sense. But Ake, for me, if you're trying to win the Premier League and the major honours, I'm sorry, I don't see that.
Yeah, Ake is so, like, I don't know.
Overrated.
But he's massively overrated. He's just an average footballer, like an Everton centre-back. Like, that's what he is to me. An Everton centre-back, like these Keanes and these man over here, like, he's just a nothing centre-back. I don't understand why they linked to him. But De Ligt, for me, I don't know why Man United aren't going for De Ligt. This guy's trying to bring the band back together, but he ain't
we can't get him, bro.
Louis van Gaal is pretty much vetoing every.
Louis van Gaal. If you're Dutch, don't touch ground. Do not even dare.
Also, have you noticed that City don't actually care that these players might go to Chelsea? Now, if the Premier League wants to keep their main assets, why are they giving them away to a so-called rival in Chelsea? And they're just like, yeah, it's cool. Take
Sterling,
100 million, bro. 100 million.
And Jesus out, Alvarez and Haaland in. Come on, man. Come on, man. Like,
that's madness, isn't it? It's madness.
It's
45 million for Jesus, 50 mil potentially for Ake, and 50 mil for Sterling. That is just daylight robbery. If
they get 150 million back in this window, as Klopp will say, they've spent nothing, because obviously Liverpool are the leaders of Let's Spend FC. Yeah. So let's use their logic. They'd actually be in the minus, so technically they could spend another 50 million to break even, and to have. Man City are doing a madness. Like, we haven't even spoken about Phillips. Obviously, we don't need to get into that. But listen, Keir, let's obviously drift away from Chelsea. We spoke about them a fair few. We haven't really mentioned Tottenham signings, so it's only fitting that we bring you. Obviously, you mentioned Richarlison and passing, but are you somewhat worried about Tottenham? Because let's be realistic, right? Obviously, Man United, Chelsea. I don't know about them at the moment, but Man United, Spurs, and Arsenal. Obviously going to be vying for the top 4, but at the moment, if you're basing on the transfer window, you'd almost say Spurs are in the top 4 because of the manager they've got, or not because necessarily because of Spurs, but because Conte gives them an extra 10 points. Let's be realistic in it, because it's Conte, and especially when he's got pre-season, he's got full season, he's got a couple more players in there that he rates. That Perisic, for example, people are sleeping on that deal, by the way. That Perisic deal is an absolute quality signing. But the point I'm trying to make is, are you somewhat worried with Man United and Arsenal, just somewhat falling behind Tottenham at the moment? What do you reckon in terms of the business they've done and the business that we've done? It seems that top 4 is almost out of grasp before the ball's been kicked.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned Conte. If it was any other manager, I wouldn't be so worried. But Conte,
Conte's the guy
with Basuma, and Basuma's there now, so 25 million pounds. That is an absolute bargain. Premier League experience as well. It's a steal. It's a steal. Let's put it there. And he's pretty much buying the players that will allow him to rest Kane a bit more, Son a bit more as well with Richarlison. Spence, if they get Spence, that's the right.
He's a top right back. I don't know why United.
Yeah, that's their right sorted for years and years and years to come. So I think was that Middlesbrough, not in Forest.
Yeah, he's a Forest, but Middlesbrough.
He was Forest. That's Forest. Yeah, for he was absolutely fantastic, especially. I think they've had one of the best windows this season. They might. I'm not sure who else they're going for. What else they might need. They probably need a few centre backs, but I'm pretty sure. Who are they? Who does
they just got Lenglet.
We've got Lenglet, but he's just for the squad because of the 5.
He's absolutely shit.
Lenglet.
He may be shit.
But he's a body, though. He's a body. At least they've got someone in it.
He's inquired about a left centre back. So Gavardiol from Leipzig, Hincapié, and Indika are the 3 players that he's.
Do not let this club and Gavardiol. I will go mad. Yeah. I will get mad because I said his name to you, Kish.
I know.
In the group chat.
Because because of the players that we've sold as well, that 150 million cash injection has not really got in. So they're saying that he's made an inquiry for Indika, Hincapié, and Gavardiol.
Can we just talk about these comments here from Raj? Because it sounds almost ridiculous to say it, because it probably is. But I think this is a fair point. Conte is not staying to get top 4. We know that that's not what he's about. So obviously they need a couple of more signings. This is coming from an Arsenal fan, which is absolutely baffling to me. Should Spurs be in the conversation, basically, the Liverpool, Man City? Now, how much more does Spurs need to do to close that gap? Because for me personally, it's very hard to write off Conte because of who he is and what he's achieved with lesser players. But then that's on one side, and on the other hand is Spurs. So do you know what I mean, KL? Do you know what I mean? Like if he was at Chelsea, then I'd be like, yeah, he's in title race. Because it's Tottenham, I just can't get myself to say it for some reason.
I want to say it's just because it's not just because Tottenham. It's because Man City are who they are. I can't see them. I can't see Spurs getting 90 points to win a league title. I can't see them.
You have to factor in that, obviously, hypothetically speaking, if Tottenham are to come good, it wouldn't be 90 points. It'd probably be, you're looking a bit slightly lower. But I get the point. Obviously, they have to be extremely consistent. For me personally, to answer your question, Rod, I would say no, because they're relying too much on Son and Kane. Obviously, you just throw Richarlison in there, which definitely does improve the front 4, and it actually has Son on the bench that can cause a problem, i.e., have an impact. So I think Richarlison definitely helps you, but I just think you need a bit more, for me personally, in the final third.
You know what? For me, so like Conte is like the managerial copy of Chelsea, in the sense of like they'll have one season where they just rip everybody apart, and then the next year is a bit of a bummy season. I don't want to say that about Tottenham either. I don't think they'll challenge, because I wouldn't say to close the gap on the other two. Liverpool won the league and then had a catastrophic season. They can talk about injuries and that. They still had a team good enough to at least go second, if not third, in my opinion. Yeah. Bro, Salah's still available. Mane's still available. For me, if this is the Fables front 3, run things. But anyway, no.
Don't talk about the greatest front 3 in Premier League history like that, man.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I shouldn't. They
don't disrespect them, man.
they lost Van Dijk and all that, so also did that play a part. But look, it's hard to not look at Conte because we're talking about Son and Kane, but then Kulusevski came in and made an instant impact, added numbers. Richarlison is a good player to add on top of that as well, so you got a bit of depth up top now. Jed Spencer at right back is very good. You said it, Perisic is a flipping good signing, by the way.
Very good.
I forgot about Perisic.
Very good signing. Bissouma and Bentancur, Bissouma and Højbjerg anyway. I know they don't play together, but those two were the top two for like tackles and interceptions in the league last season. So he's added another warrior to that midfield. I think, in my opinion, better than Højbjerg in Bissouma. Bentancur settled into that team well. They're looking to sign another centre-back with Romero there. I mean, it's not inconceivable to say that they shouldn't be challenging, that they should be challenging, but
I can't see it, I'll be honest.
Yeah, man.
The only thing is the Conte factor for me. Like all the players that you mentioned, like for me, they're missing the centre mid. Like you mentioned Bissouma, you mentioned Højbjerg, you mentioned Bentancur, but they need that Eriksen player, like somebody that's got that.
Do you know what? I've been speaking a lot to Spurs fans about this, but if you look at his,
I don't know why you're not going for him. Like, generally,
that's what I mean. But if you look at his teams that have won the leagues in Italy, for example, recently,
he had Barella.
He doesn't have those sort of players. Like Barella, for example, if you look at Barella, he's not a creative midfielder. He's like Bentancur in terms of his passive and passing and creative ability, but he's not an Eriksen. He only got Eriksen into certain games for Inter Milan last season, and that's why I want Eriksen, because Eriksen knows the way Conte manages and the way he plays. And for certain games where, you know, that one dimensional tactic doesn't work, you can bring someone like him on and change your formation, have that number 10. But for some reason, it seems from what I'm hearing that Conte doesn't want that at all. He wants to have physicality in the team rather than creativity.
I think that's going to be your Achilles heel. I've got to be honest.
I agree.
Look, Richarlison definitely has that match-winning ability, as we've seen with Everton. But I just think I think with a lot of teams, you know, I think Man City, Liverpool to an extent, obviously they're brilliant at what they do and they're unbelievably good at their plan A. So sometimes they get away with not having a plan B. But a lot of our teams, we need to have options. You need to have a different dynamic, you know, a different way of playing. And I think with Tottenham Hotspurs, although they have a very good way of playing, it just does surprise me, especially with the fact that he's got unbelievable chemistry with Son and Kane as well. It's just a no-brainer. He's on a free. Whether it's from Eriksen's perspective, he wants to play week in, week out, is a different conversation. But it does surprise me you're not going for someone like that. But obviously, as you mentioned, he doesn't really play with that kind of player. So.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, look, in the Premier League now, you've got a manager in Pep who plays possession-based football. You've got someone in Klopp that plays counter-attack, high press. And you've got someone like Conte where it's pure physicality. It's to keep hold of the ball, be dirty in terms of where you are, have that aggressiveness about you where you actually frustrate the opposition. And I just feel that style of football in the Premier League, the last manager to do that and win it was Mourinho in 2014, which is almost 10 years ago now. And I just feel that since then, the Premier League has adapted in such a sense that, yes, the odd game, you might get results against a Man City, for example, or Liverpool. But throughout a 38-game season, I just don't see that style of football alone being enough to challenge or win the Premier League for me personally.
That being said, though, didn't he signed Fabregas to be the creative player in it.
But that's what I mean. So, but that was because he already had, because with Fabregas, he could play in that central midfield and still be a stonewall. Whereas we don't. Eriksen can't do that. Eriksen can't be that person that holds it back as well as being. He is. You need to put him in that number 10 slot really to get the best out of him. So
what about Ndombele? Could he be that guy?
Do you know what? Again, with Ndombele, look, I've said this many times. It's frustrating with him. It is frustrating with him because you all know.
He pisses me off, man.
Yeah, when we signed Ndombele, every single club in world football wanted Ndombele. I don't care what people say.
I wanted him at United.
Everyone wanted him. He has all the talent in the world, but his attitude stinks, and he prefers going Mackie D's every night after a training session. What can you do? What can you do?
Good,
I tell you the player that we're lacking right now Musa
Suchek.
Dembele. We are lacking Dembele. If we had Dembele right now in our lineup,
What about
I'm telling
Suchek?
you right now, we're
What
winning
about
the league.
Yeah, two check. He needs.
Suchek over
Nah. He doesn't touch Dembele. He doesn't touch Musa Dembele. Don't ever compare. I'm afraid.
But we saying that he's
What
better
about
now.
Parrot?
Again, in the squad, it'd be good to have him because he's been playing well. If you've been watching the Island games, he's actually turned up and he's scored in his last 2 international games.
I think they were taking the piss, Kish. They weren't being serious.
No,
but
that's because you don't watch Parrot play. But he's actually this. If any of you guys have watched him this season, he's been really, really good. Apparently, Conte's taking a look at him.
I do like
Lingard.
Parrot. He's good.
Lingard to Spurs. Just before we go, I forgot about this one. James, you've been up to legend in chat. Thank you. Appreciate you, by the way. Lingard to Spurs or Lingard in general. What are we saying? We'll finish on Jesse Lingard.
Not to Spurs because he won't get game time. I'd take him. He'd be fantastic to have, but he won't be again, it's similar to what I said to you earlier, Kojo, about Jesus. I don't see him being a guaranteed starter at Tottenham, unfortunately.
I don't think Lingard would. If Lingard went to Spurs, I think he'd understand he wouldn't be a guaranteed starter.
But then why would you go to Spurs? That's what
because for Conte, for someone like Conte, and Conte uses his squads very, very well.
Yeah,
that would be a perfect opportunity to rest like a Son. So Son is not playing.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe in terms of like having a player for the FA Cup, the League Cup, and even the games where in the league you expect.
But Kojo at 29, is that what Lingard? When he's been at West Ham and he's played every game.
No, yeah, you're saying that, but you're in the Champions League.
Last World Cup for Lingard, a chance to get into it. Obviously, I'm not saying you will, but these man need to be taking that into consideration, man. If he goes, just go Newcastle, man. You belong at Newcastle.
If he performs like he did at West Ham, he gets in that World Cup squad because Southgate has always had favouritism towards him. He knows what he can do in a world competition as well as for England. He always pulls up his shirt. He's always class for England. So if he performs, then I think he's almost certain to be in the squad. To be honest with you,
that's a big
because it's a 25-man squad now. They've not it initially goes from 25 to 22, but this time there's no cut off, so I can see him being in that.
No way, so there's no cut off.
No. So
you know what that means? Another right back.
Oh, here we go.
Wan-Bissaka, you still got a chance, man. Lingard's been using every club to get higher salary. Listen, Lingard's using the clubs for more interactions on TikTok. Remember, I said it first. Lingard's the next TikTok sensation. I called it first, right?
He's a good dancer, to be fair. You can't.
I'm gonna finish on Sadio Mane because obviously we've not done the show in a while, so I have to mention Mane and Salah. Obviously, his new contract. So we'll just finish on Liverpool quickly, and also I'll finish on Lingard. But Sadio Mane obviously left Liverpool a while ago. They haven't really replaced him. Darwin Núñez is coming to that. But what are you guys' thoughts on Liverpool at the moment? Because I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans crying on the timeline, mainly because of the midfielder situation. But in general, what are your thoughts? Obviously, Salah signed a new contract, probably the cringiest video I've ever seen. Well, maybe I'm biased, I don't know. What have you made of Liverpool so far? Because obviously Man City done fantastic business, and Liverpool, on the other hand, haven't really signed anyone, to be honest. What have you guys made of it?
I personally think they're weaker.
What are you saying, Kate?
I personally think they're weaker, to be honest. I think they've got a striker that they've signed again.
It's comment, yeah.
Again, he could turn out to be fire because recent signings that Liverpool make seem to be decent acquisitions, but he's had one dominant season in the Portuguese league. He performed in the Champions League, but it's a different style of football that you play at Liverpool. I think the last time they had an out-and-out striker, I can't even remember. It must have been
Andy Carroll, I think.
The Carroll or Sturridge. Sturridge was probably the last out-and-out striker that they had. Since then, they've had the false nines and the wingers. So
would you say Sturridge? Because he kind of was partnered with Suarez for a long period.
Yeah, but then I think he played on his own at times as well. But regardless of that, I think, and also with Diaz, similar to Kulusevski, where look, he had a really good from January to the end of the season, but it'll be interesting to see his quality this season because now defenders will track up on him. They'll know exactly what his strengths and his weaknesses are, and we'll see how he adapts. And in midfield, you've got Thiago, who for me is world class, but the injuries are getting to him. Keita, again, you never know what you're going to get. Henderson's another year older. Fabinho is another year older. And I just think that they've still not replaced, I can't pronounce his name properly, the guy in PSG who's absolutely flopped.
Ronaldo.
Yeah, They've not replaced him, and I just think in that midfield they've signed Carvalho, who might be great, but he's 19, and they've got Harvey Elliott, Curtis James, they've got the Ox. That midfield for me, if you compare that midfield to Man City's, it lacks so much quality and depth. That you just think that a couple of injuries there, if Thiago gets injured for the season, for example, which could happen, you never know, then I feel like they've missed a massive trick. If they're going to wait, apparently the rumours are for Bellingham for next season, I think they're missing a massive trick for not putting all their eggs in Bellingham or that sort of player and just leaving that.
They're not going to get Bellingham this season. I mean, they probably will get him next season, don't get me wrong. But like you kind of alluded to the Darwin Núñez, so let's start with that one. Obviously, Mane is replacement, so to speak. For me, we don't know what Darwin Núñez is going to do. He could come in, hit the ground running, it could be a revelation, of course. We don't know. But he has got big boots to fill, massive boots to fill, because Mane, for me, has been extremely consistent for a very long period for Liverpool. And obviously, last season wasn't great. But in general, the guy's a clutch player. He has so much to his game. He offers a lot off the ball. He's just a problem to deal with on the best of times. So for me, he's got massive pressure on his shoulders. It'd be interesting to see how he fares with that. Of course, with the other couple of players, as you mentioned, obviously Luis or whatever his name is Luis, isn't it? Forgot his name. Luis, he's also coming. Diaz, not Luis. Who the fuck's Luis? Diaz. He's come in. He's obviously got off to a fantastic start, but again, there's going to be a lot of expectation on these players now. Mane is no longer there. Salah, of course, has signed a new contract, which is fantastic news. But I just think there's going to be too much ownership on Salah at the start of the season. It'll be interesting to see how the other guys fare. Obviously, the younger players will be able to deal with it. The pressures of being in a club that have to win every single game. They can't afford to drop points, as we've seen in previous seasons. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But in terms of the midfield, if Thiago gets injured, they're basically fucked. I'm not going to lie. Like, they haven't got anything there. Like, I think that Jones is a decent player. He's a young talent. Obviously, Elliott looked decent prior to his injury. We don't know how he's going to come back after the injury. Carter, for me, is an absolute bum. Guy's always injured. What a waste of money he's been. Doesn't get half the criticism he deserves, in my personal opinion. Oxlade-Chamberlain's still there. Lord have mercy. Milner, I mean...
He's leaving, isn't he?
They're Milner... Is Chamberlain gone?
Like, no, he's still there. He's still there.
He's still there, man. He's making TikToks with Lingard. But, yeah, listen, they need a midfielder desperately. At the moment, as it stands, without Thiago and Fabinho, they're going to be struggling. Henderson, for me, he's not getting any bigger. Obviously, Roger's saying Bellingham to Liverpool. I do not think Bellingham's coming to Liverpool this season. Do I think Bellingham will be a Liverpool player? At some point, yeah, I do think he will be a Liverpool player at some point.
Will he, though, if the likes of Real Madrid and co go for him? I'm not sure.
How many players have Real Madrid won? They've already got bloody Camavinga. They've just signed Tchouaméni.
But they're trying, because if you look at Kroos after this season might retire. So that
but they've got Tchouaméni to come in for Kroos or Valverde even. I don't know. They got the picks. Even Camavinga, like, it'll be a year old.
Modric and Kroos are like, what, 36, 37? They can't keep going for much longer, can they, really?
I mean, hopefully Real Madrid come in for Bellingham, because I think he's a top talent and I think he'd be fantastic at Liverpool, to be honest. But for me personally, I don't think it's happened this year. But Kill, what do you reckon? Do Liverpool look weaker, as Kish just said?
They look weak because they are Sadio Mane, and Sadio Mane is going to be a massive miss, even if people don't want to realise it, especially Liverpool fans who thought at the very beginning of last season that he was dead, finished, done and dusted, and turned out he was one of, if not their best player last season. But what I think they're trying to do is recreate him in terms of numbers. Diaz and Diaz, Carvalho and Jota, who's still, a lot of people are forgetting, is still there. Probably not going to do the individual numbers that Sadio Mane did, but they probably will create the same amount or score the same amount of goals that he did in one season. So they've got him there. And then with the addition of Darwin Núñez, he may take some time to settle. But he's also, what is he, like 6'3", 6'4", and he's got Trent Alexander-Arnold supplying him.
I'm hearing Firmino's going to Juventus, by the way, Raj.
Firmino's finished anyways, man. Listen, after they said that Andre has to play on the left wing for Firmino, I'll never forget it. Dead player. Get him out of you, man.
You know what it is, yeah? I think Núñez is the replacement for Firmino. I think Luis Diaz is the one that everyone's going to have eyes on. 'Cause this guy came in explosive.
Yeah, he's been
So
brilliant.
he's taking that left side now, and they're going to be like, all right, cool, Mane ain't here. Are you going to be able to help along with Salah? Like, are you going to be able to do the job? I think
They need to step up, man. The big boots to fill.
time.
Young kids, man.
Jota's a bit part player. He knows his role. He'll go and score the goals. He'll score about 15 goals and do cocky celebration because he thinks he's wavy like that. Nunez can. He's had what I think he's had 2 good seasons. One good season, one fantastic season, which was last season. Obviously, that's why he's been bought. But yeah, Diaz, the eyes are going to be on that guy. If he does not do as well as he did last half season, yeah, then they're going to start thinking about if he's the guy to replace Mane or not. Because scoring someone of that quality, once you someone of that quality, the first thing you have to do is try and think about how you replace him or change your style of play or whatever you want to do. And if you can't find a way, who knows? The same way when Klopp lost Götze at Dortmund, he had no clue what to do next. He was lost. And then they had that shambolic season, which I'm hoping they'll have this season. That'll be beautiful, right? And not 30th. But let's see, man. Let's see what happens with Diaz. Diaz is the one I've got my eyes on more than anything.
Yeah. I know. I think for me personally, what you said is spot on. In terms of the Diaz, he's definitely got the ability to do that, but it just comes down to the mental for me. Like I think a lot of the players, the talent that they've got, obviously as you mentioned, Darwin Núñez, Diaz, both of them young talents. I just think it's going to come down to the mental strength with these guys. Obviously, as Klopp raves about how they, what does he call them? Mentality monsters.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the situation is next season. But listen, as always, make sure you stay up to date with our show. Obviously, next week is Eid, so I don't know what day we're doing it, but I will let you beautiful people know on my Twitter. So please do feel free to follow me if you want to stay up to date with all things Rival Fan Podcast. Tomorrow we have got a show. I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock. I haven't confirmed the time yet. But we are going to be doing a show, a player profile show on Man United's only signing, which is Tyrell Malacia, the Feyenoord left back, aka the best left back in the world. So that will be filmed tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that. I think it's 7 o'clock UK time. But obviously, before we go, as always, Kate, first and foremost, let the people know where they can find you, my bro.
Yeah, like I said, please like, subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff for Usman Talks United. I'm sure with the big season ahead, you'll see weekly and almost daily content. Follow me at Keishindu on Instagram, Twitter, and all the socials as well.
Yes, yes, you love to see it. And last but not least, the boys from 3 Midfield. Koja, do the honors. Where can we find you?
Yes, Free Midfield Podcast on YouTube and Free Midfield on all the audios and your socials, Twitter, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch. Free Midfield. And this is a very, very random shout out. But guys, we have seen John Cena on our TV for 20 years. We are getting old, man.
20 years?
20 years. Yeah. 20
Oh,
years, man.
That's mad. Bloody hell, thanks for depressing me. Anyways, on that note, we shall see you hopefully sometime next week. Like I said, I don't know what day it is, Eid, but we have got a video for you tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Obviously, make sure you follow everyone's socials to stay up to date with everything. And if you want to see me getting abused by Top Reds, feel free to follow me on Twitter.